show you how to make the stem for a chalice, a solid stem. You want to use about as much clay as you use for the cup that sits on top of the stem. Wet your clay, slam it down in the middle and center it like a hockey puck. You want about that size. An inch or so thick. A little narrower than the width of the cup that's going to sit on top. It looks like that. You want to work with water with a sponge, keep it cleaned up right up to the clay. And now with I'm right-handed, so with my left hand keeping it centered, I'm going to come up about a half an inch from the bat with my wet sponge. You have to make sure that the clay glides, otherwise it'll stick and pull. The sponge wet, and I'm going to push in like this, and that starts to create the base. Now with both hands wet up to the wrist, I'm going to fold my fingers, and I'm going to squeeze the clay in here, keeping it wet enough to glide, making sure I squeeze the air out of the center. You don't want trapped air, or it could explode in the kiln. Once I have it started like that, keep it centered. And again with my left hand supporting it and a wet sponge, I'm going to start shaping the base. And I'm pressing in any horizontal lines you want to make, do now. While you're making the stem, after it's leather hard, before you put the top on, you can do whatever other kind of carving you want into it. You don't want it to be too thick down here at the base. If it is, you have to hollow it out from underneath. Again, we want to make sure that it's not too damp at the core of it as you go to fire it and end up having it explode from that. Trim a little off the top to make it even with the pin tool. You want the top to be slightly cupped so that when you have your rounded bowl top, it'll sit right in there like this. So I'm going to support the top, make a little bridge with my middle finger and thumb, my index finger like this, and make a little seat for it. It also recenters the stem. It's got to be perfectly centered or it'll fall over in the kiln as it's fired. Keep it all cleaned up. Now I'm going to use an edge tool. As soon as I find it. It's a tool with a little bit of a U-shape cut out of it, and it's going to help clean up the foot at the bottom so it has a nice finished edge. You don't want this part to taper off to be paper thin or it'll crack. Use this tool. And that finishes off the bottom nicely. Okay. I'm going to pull a wire under it. Pull tight. Pull straight. When you handle it, you have to handle it carefully so it doesn't flop and fall. When I take it off with the wheel, leaving it on the back, I'm going to take a bag. Take a bag, put it over the top. Make sure I'm covering the top to keep that wet enough. Little air getting underneath for that to dry. Because it's going to dry from the top down. If the top gets too dry, then you're not going to be able to attach the two pieces. All right.